Missoula, Montana is one of our very favorite places we've ever been to. We actually lived there for a summer and we did just about everything possible there is to do in Missoula, Montana. So we want to cover with you the 10 best things to do in Missoula in this video.
We're Matt and Cheryl and our channel is We're in the Rockies, and our whole goal is to help you really enjoy your trip to the West. I'm an educator. Matt used to work for the federal government but is now doing this full time. And Missoula is very special to us because while we were there, we didn't have our normal responsibilities of caring for our lawn and doing extra jobs. So we really got to spend an entire summer being tourists in a great town. A
really great town. Okay, so we can't wait to talk about it. Number one is visit Caras Park, which is downtown. It's right in the middle of the city, and the Clark River runs right through Missoula. And so Caras Park is right downtown next to the Clark River. So when you visit Caras Park, they have an outdoor seating area that you can get some food and eat in the park. You can walk along the river or bike along the river, which we did last time we went there. And then you can watch people rafting the river right next to you there. So they have man-made rapids in the Clark River right next to Caras Park. So Caras Park is in downtown Missoula, first thing to do.
And that's where they do lunch in the park. So every Wednesday you can do lunch in the park. There's food trucks everywhere, live music. It is really kind of special. Missoula's kind of an artsy town in a way. They're pretty proud of their arts. It's just where the whole community gets together and parties. And one thing I did want to mention about Missoula is that it is pretty far north, and so the time to visit there is in the summer. You know, it's pretty cool. A lot of the homes and hotels don't even have AC because it stays so cool in the summer, but you get amazing summer nights where you have light until 10 o'clock at night. And so I have a lot of memories of just being in Missoula out at night, chilling on the deck, hanging out with friends, you know, just really enjoying the beautiful scenery there is surrounding the area. So the next thing is the Carousel. There is the Carousel of Missoula, and this is not just a run-of-the-mill carousel. You see it in an amusement park. This is a nice one. And it's actually zipping fast. It goes really, really fast, and it has these fun little rings that you get, and you can try to put them on a dragon's mouth as you spin around. It was something we really enjoyed, and something Missoula is very proud of. Each of their horses has a story, and you can look online and find out about each of the animals or horses on the carousel. And it's really kind of a centerpiece of the city. People really enjoy that. Yeah,
Montana has an interesting kind of thing with carousels. All the cities around there have their own carousel. Missoula's has been around for about 25 years and is a must-do. Okay, the next thing, number 3, is to hike the M. So Missoula is surrounded by 5 mountain ranges. It's actually at the confluence of 5 mountain ranges. Mount Sentinel overlooks the city, and there's a big M on the mount there, on the mountain, and so you can hike up to the M. The hike is a little steep, just a little intense that way, but it's not really all that long. It's a little over a mile long, I believe, and you can get up to a great overlook of the whole city and the whole valley there of Missoula. One thing about the mountains in Missoula is they're pretty accessible, so everywhere you drive in Missoula, you're going through a valley next to a river. It's the most beautiful place, just so great. And the hikes are accessible too, because the mountains are not, they're not these towering mountains. It's just kind of a cute little city tucked into the hills there. So hike the M for great views. And
that was something I loved about living in the city. You could drive 10 minutes any direction and be within nature. It was wonderful.
In fact, one time I drove into the mountains, just barely left town, and saw a black bear run out in front of me right there in the mountains. So just cool.
All right, number 4 is the Smoke Jumpers Museum. This was incredible. They actually have these specially trained firemen that train to jump out of airplanes into these remote areas and fight these forest fires before they turn into a big deal. These guys are like awesome firemen on roids. They are incredible. And it was just neat to go to their headquarters. Matt's laughing because he knows I kind of have a thing for firemen.
Yep. Take your wife to the Smoke Jumpers Museum.
And just try to keep the under control when you're there. But it was neat because these guys are jacks of all trades. While we were there, they were mending their parachutes. And yep. I mean, they have to jump out of these planes with these backpacks that weigh over 100 pounds. And
then they shovel dirt on the fire, try to put it out.
Yeah, they're not allowed to use chainsaws because they're in a forest. And so they have to put these fires out with very minimal equipment.
and then they have to hike 10 miles to be picked up. So it's these guys are Superman. It's amazing. Definite one of our highlights of Missoula smoke jumpers. Number 5 is to go to a Paddleheads baseball game. So this is minor league baseball, and here in the Rockies we have a little minor league called the Pioneer League. Just this last year it became unaffiliated with Major League Baseball, so it's now an independent little league. And they used to be called the Missoula Osprey, and it was kind of cool because they had a nest in center field where actual osprey would come and hang out. But now they changed their name to the Paddleheads, which is a nod to the fact that river rafting is such a big deal there in Missoula. So they're the Paddleheads baseball team. We went there. We've been to the game multiple times, but one time we were actually featured on a guy's blog who he wrote for minor league baseball, and he went around and covered all the parks in the country. And there's the craziest story because we were doing a Pioneer League road trip, which by the way is a good idea for a road trip. We were doing hitting ballparks in Idaho and Montana and Utah, and it was just great. It was really just a great excuse to get a nice scenic drive. This guy happened to be in the same ballpark 3 nights in a row as us, doing basically the same road trip at the same time. It was kind of a crazy coincidence. But he has to review the ballpark food at these ballparks, and he has celiac disease or something. He can't do that. So he needs somebody to fill in for him.
We were the designated eaters.
Yeah, so he had us fill in for him and eat the food and rate it. And the food was
bats and balls,
fries and bull testicles. And so that was our culinary experience there at the baseball game. So Paddleheads, the minor league baseball, that's one of the things to do at minor league baseball is try their crazy food. So anyway, the thing is, it is the most scenic place to watch a baseball game.
Well,
it was awesome.
Second scenic. Yeah. Ogden is better. Just saying.
Another reason why the Pioneer League is so cool is all the stadiums are just in the mountains. It's great. Okay, so definitely check out a baseball game if you're there. Number 6 is the Rocky Mountain Museum of Elk. And I actually didn't go to this. Cheryl did, and she can't remember too much about it because it's been a little while since we went there. But the Rocky Mountain Museum of Elk would definitely be something to check out in the town of Missoula.
Number 7. Chat with the local. I think us Westerners in general are pretty friendly, but Missoula was even friendlier than Utah, in my opinion. It was so interesting to live there, and you'd go into Walmart and the checker would want to talk to you for a while. It was just a very slow pace of life, very friendly people. I remember we had a man come work on the dryer in our rental, and he just sat there and told us all about the good things to go do, and I just thought, this is something pretty special and charming about this place are the locals.
Oh yeah, everybody, you just go, we would take our kids to the playground, people would chat us up, and it was really enjoyable. They're very proud of their area as well, and they can tell you all the things there are to do. So chat with the local when you go. Number 8 is to eat and drink in Missoula. So it's actually kind of a little foodie town. There's a lot of really good places to eat there, and then they're real big on drinking. Now, we are not big on drinking. We don't drink ourselves, and so we know nothing about the beer, but we do know that there are micro breweries there, I think is what they're called. So they have a lot of their own beer, and they're real proud of it. So drinking beer is a big thing there. As far as eating, we mentioned that they have the lunch in the park on Wednesdays, so definitely check that out at Caras Park. They also have a farmer's market on Saturdays. We've done that before, and it was awesome.
Something so special about the farmer's market is they have huckleberries. That's, they grow those in Missoula, and I've never seen huckleberries anywhere else, and they were so good, and it was fun to get something that was unique to the area. And I was going to mention that we were there, and we had a per diem to eat meals, so we ate out a lot. So I feel like we, in fact, I was pregnant when we were on that trip, and we came back and visited Utah for like a couple days in the middle of it, and my doctor was like, "You've gained some extra weight." Advised me to go with appetizers, but I have to say that we put in the work to know some good places to eat.
Oh, and our favorite place is Ciao Mambo. So this is an Italian place. You've got to go eat at Ciao Mambo when you're there. And then for dessert, the Big Dipper is actually pretty close to Ciao Mambo. Well, of course, the whole town's small anyway, but the Big Dipper is where you have to go for ice cream. It'd just be long lines of people waiting for an ice cream or a shake. The Big Dipper, you gotta try.
Yep, worth the wait. Just wait with a smile. You will be rewarded. It's good ice cream.
Okay, so number 9 is just to do some adventurous activities. This is one of the things that Montana in general is known for, and Missoula is really proud of just the outdoors things that you can do there. So there's the river rafting that we've already mentioned. That's a really popular activity. And then it's really well known for fly fishing. And it's where a river runs through it was filmed. So fly fishing, I know that a lot of people that watch our channel are into fly fishing. You can also, as we mentioned, bike along the river, which we did, which is really great. And then hiking. Just try to get into the mountains there and you'll get up to some overlooks and views that are just great. So
there really is an incredible trail system in Missoula. If you do like enjoy biking or walking or running, I'd go running every day and I loved it. Just so scenic and just so many options. I think in a lot of towns there's like one trail you can go on, but in Missoula there were several places and it was just so nice to go see new views when you were out exercising.
Speaking of adventure, if you have little kids, take them to any of the parks in the area. They put a lot of effort into the parks.
Like they have castle parks and this dragon park and splash pads everywhere. I mean, it's a great place to take children.
Okay, number 10 is to do some side trips. So there's a lot of things to do right around Missoula. As I mentioned, it's just tucked in the mountains there, and so there's a lot of scenic stuff around the area. So let's talk about some of the side trips that you can do. You might hit these on the way to or from Missoula, or if you're staying in Missoula for a few days, do some side trips for these things. Missoula, by the way, is, even though most of you probably would just be hitting it on your way to like Yellowstone or Glacier or something like that, it is worthy of actually a destination.
I know, talking about it
fantastic.
Makes me want to go back.
We really want to go back to Missoula.
We didn't get our fill the summer we were there. We want to go back.
Oh yeah, it's great. So here's a couple of side trips you could do. First is the National Bison Range. This is a little bit north of Missoula and mostly just like a drive through, and it's kind of up on about like a little mountain where you overlook the valley, so you get some really good views. And then of course you're going to see some bison there, and so that's a good one. The next one is Sealy Lake. So this is a real popular recreation area to go boating and things like that. But what we did, there's a pretty popular hike there that is 5 miles long, round trip, and it goes to a waterfall called Morel Falls. So we really enjoyed that.
So beautiful and fairly level.
Yeah, pretty flat hike. Our kids were little at the time and they all made it. So and it was real pretty through wildflower areas and yeah, just everything's pretty there in Montana. It's crazy.
Yeah, nice hike. One of the locals graciously shared with us.
Garnett Ghost Town is another thing that you can do. So a lot of these activities are about 30 minutes to maybe 60 minutes away from Missoula. So Garnett Ghost Town I think is about an hour away maybe. And again, you drive up into the mountains, you get some great overlooks, and then you see this really well-preserved ghost town with a bunch of buildings that you could walk around and check out that are all in good shape. So that's a really cool ghost town, I thought.
It was one of the best ones we've seen. Then there's Phillipsburg, which is where you can do some panning for gold and eat some candy.
Phillipsburg is just a tiny little town next to a lake, and they have a massive candy store there. That's the thing to do in Phillipsburg, is to go get candy. But just be aware, it's run by Seventh-day Adventists, and they're not open on Saturdays. We got shut out on that, so we took our kids panning for gold. Okay, and then the next thing is one of my favorite places that nobody visits. It's called Deer Lodge, Montana. And it has two things there that may be of interest. One is the old Montana prison. So they have a museum there that you can go look at the old prison. And then the other thing is Grant Core's Ranch. This is a national park site. And it's the only working ranch, to my knowledge, it's the only working ranch in the national park system. So you can go there and see longhorn cattle, these huge Belgian horses. You can do a blacksmith ranger workshop type of a thing. A ranger will give you a chuck wagon presentation. You can do wagon tours. They have a mansion there that they'll take you on a tour of. It's free. I don't think they charge anything because they don't get that many visitors. But I'm telling you, that is a hidden little gem. That's a cool place. Our next thing is to do the Bitterroot Mountains. So if you just drive south of Missoula and just drive, you're going to have a really, really pretty drive. But you'll go past the Lee Metcalf Wildlife Preserve, really pretty river and wildlife, a lot of birds and things like that, and some really cute little towns along the way. You'll also see Travelers Rest State Park, which is a Lewis and Clark site. That's where they rested on their journey. You'll see a little town called Darby. Darby is home to Logger Days, so when they have their little city yearly celebration, they do a log competition basically. Also in Darby is the cabin from the Yellowstone TV show. the famous cabin there that you can actually stay at. So, and then if you keep driving south and cross into Idaho, it's just some of the most scenic, it would be one of the most scenic drives you've ever done. So that's a really cool area. And then if you're down in that direction, you can also visit another national park site called Big Hole National Battlefield. This is a location where the Army fought the Nez Perce Indians in a place called Big Holes. So if you're into checking off your national park sites, that's an option for you as well.
And then our last one, it's possible to do a day trip here. I wouldn't recommend it because there's way too many cool things to do in this place, but the last one is Glacier National Park.
Glacier, you wouldn't really use Missoula as a jumping off point. You'd go up to Kalispell, West Glacier, and then go see the park. But I have to list it on here because it is close enough to Missoula that you got to do it if you're there, right?
Right.
All right, now if you want more great things to do in Montana, then please check out the video image on your screen, the top 10 things to do in Montana. And until next time, go west, young traveler.